So, this is a special one. I reached out to the Dungeon Dudes, my favorite D&D YouTube channel, and here I am making them a custom model for their livestream campaign, Dungeons of Drakkenheim. The character in question is Queen Lenore, and I'll be using the Briar Queen from Age of Sigmar as the base. Seeing as the Briar Queen has no legs, I'm also going to be using this Daughters of Cain Canary, one of the bat-winged ladies, for the flying legs as well. I chose this model because I thought the etherealness could lend itself quite nicely to the potential delirium-infused magic the Queen might possess, and because the flowers. If anyone's seen the series, you may know why. I was a little overzealous and actually started chopping the model up before filming, but the first step here is just getting rid of the skeletal face to make room for the porcelain mask. It's always kind of hard chopping up the really small ones because there's not much room for error and your fingers are huge compared to the model. I did actually manage to break her crown a little bit too, but c'est la vie. Here are the mask and boots after being chopped up. The left one's shorter because her leg is going to be cocked back as well at more of an angle. To make the model a little more sturdy, I will be pinning the legs on. For anybody unfamiliar with the term, it basically just means giving an anchor. That way you're relying on a little more than just the glue's bond. With the legs drilled, it's time to move on to the body. The important thing here is you want the hole to be deep enough to provide a good support, but not go so far as pop out the other side, so think Baby Bear's porridge. With the drilling all finished, it's time to actually glue this little pin in here, so I just use a piece of metal wire, works pretty well. Paper clips work great though too. So then in this case, we'll glue it to the foot first, and then this way once we insert it on the other side, we can angle it however we like while the glue sets. So the exact same thing here, just with the opposite side of the pin. In this case, we'll glue it on, insert it onto the model, and hold it in place just so it can cure properly. The effect I'm trying to go for here is of somebody being borne aloft by powers they may or may not understand. Levitating, or perhaps thrust into the air by some outburst of power. So far, I'd say it looks pretty good. Same process here, just with her other leg. Once again, this one's shorter because I wanted her leg to look like it was bent back in like a bit more of a dynamic pose, I guess you could say. One thing I was debating on doing was adding like a bent leg using modeling putty under the dress to make it a little more realistic. But looking at the folded robes, I think that's a little beyond me, so I decided against it. Still, I think it works pretty good. And with the glue set, here we are, one levitating lady. With her legs all sorted, it's time to actually add her torso. Sometimes with conversions and painting, it's a lot easier to do things in sub-assemblies before putting it all together. So definitely did that in this case. The only thing left to glue on is her mask. I've kept it off so far just so I can sculpt the neck because I do want it to look smooth and like realistic skin. For sculpting, I'll be using Milliput. It's affordable 2-part epoxy putty and does jobs like this quite well. The name of the game here is just to wedge a gob of it in there and basically just make sure that it's not going to go anywhere once it's set and smooth it over after. The key here is to use a little bit of water on whatever choice of tool you use. That way it won't stick to it and it'll make it a little more malleable and easier to work with. Lastly, with Milliput, I do find it hard to get a really fine finish, so I try not to stress it too hard and just make sure I'm able to sand it down after it's dried. The Milliput is all dry, so there's the neck. Off camera, I did also fill in some slight gaps on the boots. One of the very last steps is to file down the Milliput, just to give it a nice smooth finish, especially on the neck. While this is going on, if you're interested in Dungeons & Dragons, be it just the slightest bit of interest, or you're already a wily old veteran, I would highly recommend checking out the Dungeon Dudes. They've got a wealth of fantastic videos, let alone the great live stream they do too, so definitely check them out. Here we are, the final step, gluing her mask on. One of the biggest reasons I chose Queen Lenore is I was really struck by her transformation as a character throughout the story, and so I really wanted to try and capture the tragic tale, but also this kind of aura of power and authority at the same time. Essentially, a figure who could inspire the players, but also pose a serious threat if they ever need to take her down. Alrighty, so aside from paint, here she is all finished. We'll show that off in just a sec. I'm really stoked how it came together. I think it captures the character quite nicely. If you follow the series, I would love to hear your thoughts too, so please comment below. Finally, here she is all painted. Golden crown, porcelain mask, and black dress being morphed by the power of delirium. Thank you very much to the Dungeon Dudes for letting me put this together for them. And thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you next time.